Hey guys, it's Keith with GuitarScratchRemover, and today I wanted to look at 7 strings and particularly some quality things, quality control things that you can look at yourself before you buy your next 7-string guitar. And it doesn't matter whether it's used or new, these apply on both of those. So as we unpack some of these quality issues, a lot of these are hidden flaws because they escape the eye of most people, and so that's how we're going to point them out. Also, these do apply on 6 and 7 string guitars. The reason why we're focusing mostly on 7 string in this video, with a couple 6 string examples, but they have wider necks, wider pickups, and wider bridges, and so there's more opportunity for error and alignment issues, as we'll see. There's also a few other things that could have been on this list, like popped frets or sharp frets, but these 5 that we picked are the most common ones that we've seen over 25 years of working on guitars. The first thing, which is not typically uncommon on stuff out of Indonesia and Asia, that sometimes there's quality issues with the paint and the line and you know how well they cut these lines out. This one actually looks great. I don't see any quality issues. It looks very, very clean. I have seen on some other guitars like Epiphone compared to Gibson, sometimes Epiphone, the cheaper models out of Asia, you will see different finish issues, but this one is pretty clean. Of course, this is a $1,000 guitar, so that does help, but sometimes these guitars do have imperfections, and that's what we're here to talk about. The first one that I noticed that I would consider an imperfection on this guitar is the way that the neck has been set. It's still good. This is not a bad guitar, and I would still give this one a high score. One of the things that happens a lot on these guitars and on 6 strings is when they set the neck in the joint, they sometimes set it so it's a little bit, you can't even tell, it's a microscopic amount off, and what it does is it makes the strings, the high E string, especially too close to the edge of the fret. And if you go to Ibanez's website and you pull this guitar up, you will see a better example of how it should be. So since I filmed this video, of course, Ibanez has removed the green guitar from their website, and this happens. They're always updating their models. They've got hundreds of guitars, but this one is very similar, almost identical in construction, and as you can see, it's perfect. The strings are absolutely centered in the fretboard. They're not too close to one edge or the other, and the strings go right over each pickup pull, and this is basically what I was saying is ideal. I have seen guitars, just push the string a little bit, new guitars, whether they're Ibanez or Jackson. I don't want to pick on Ibanez. I remember specifically some Jacksons at Guitar Center that the necks were set in such a way that the E string was almost coming off the fretboard. And if you play it, it will sometimes go off like that. And especially when you're playing fast and you're bending notes. This one is still okay. I would give this probably a B on a scale of F to, an F to A. Ideally, this would be just a little bit more over, but it's within the tolerances of where it should be. This low string is probably a millimeter or 2 more off the edge of the fingerboard than over here. Okay? Now this guitar is still in the playable range, and this would be one that you could buy, but on occasion, the strings are incorrectly way too close to the edge of the fretboard, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If you get a perfect one, they'll be absolutely perfect and centered. But if you have to choose, you want a little more room on the high E string and not so much here. And the reason is you're not playing up here. Okay, you don't play up here, and you certainly aren't bending strings, but you are here. A lot of times you're going for that 24th fret. And this is probably the biggest thing I can tell you, because I've seen guitars where they become unplayable if this is too far offset. Okay, but this one's good. It's within the tolerances. The next thing I'm going to tell you about is sometimes if the neck is set wrong, the strings will not line up exactly over the pickup poles. It also depends how they're drilled and put in. But like here you can see this one's off a little bit. I'm right over the top of this. Here on the low strings it's dead on. But then over here this one's outside of the pickup poles. Again, not the end of the world because these are magnetic and it'll still pick up. But it's interesting how this one they did a perfect job on and this one they didn't. Strings are expanding like this as they're going towards the bridge. But it still would be nice to see this over the pole, but it's not. It's also worth mentioning that sometimes it's something other than the way the neck is bolted on. It could also be a pickup was installed slightly over far to one side, or the bridge itself was either offset when they bolted it down or is just slightly the wrong size. On this guitar, it's a little perplexing because you can see the neck pickup perfectly aligns with the strings, but unfortunately the bridge pickup, which is the one you're probably using the most, you can see on the high E and B strings and even the G, it doesn't quite line up over the strings the way it should. I should point out that this is not to pick on Ibanez. Ibanez makes great quality instruments. This can actually happen to any guitar manufacturer, whether it's a $200 budget instrument all the way up to a custom shop, Gibson or Fender. Almost any guitar maker is prone to make a mistake here and there, and that's why we check them over. Here's a Jackson with sort of the opposite issue where the neck pickup is slightly missing the high 3 strings, and the bridge pickup though is perfectly aligned. If I had to choose, I think I would want one like this where the bridge pickup is perfect. The neck joint is the next thing that I would look at. Okay, because these are the things I'm pointing out. These are all things that can't be fixed. Okay, you cannot fix a neck that's been offset. You cannot fix strings that aren't going exactly over the pickups. And you certainly can't fix cracks in the body, which is the next thing that I want to show you. So, and the neck joint. On this guitar, there are no cracks. So sometimes on new and used guitars, because of shipping and the way people are handling them in the stores, there will be very fine hairline cracks right here. And not really in the neck, but in the body. Okay, and sometimes if these get over tightened or someone worked on a guitar and they take the neck off for some reason and they over tighten these, or there's any stress in shipping, sometimes you'll see little hairline cracks right here and right here in the body. And I've seen this a lot. It's more common on used guitars. Watch out for that. It's a lot easier to see if this is a painted guitar. Here there are no cracks. That's good news. If there are, I would say look for another guitar, but sometimes if they're just hairline cracks and it's a used guitar, it's okay. I've had guitars where they're okay, but certainly I wouldn't tolerate that on a new instrument. While we're still looking at the neck joint here, you see that gap right there where it's not completely flush? That is somewhat of a manufacturing flaw. Because this is a bolt-on neck, you want as perfect of a joint there as you can possibly get. It has to do with the sustain of the guitar. This is why they make guitars with neck through bodies. It's to sort of create a one-piece thing here so that you get ultimate sustain. Anytime there's gaps, you are taking away from that joint, okay? And this isn't bad, but it is there. Now I'm going to show you over here on this joint where they did a perfect job. That is a really good joint. If I could just get in there, hopefully the camera will stay focused. There are no gaps. See that? Very, very nice joint, neck joint. Okay, but there is a small gap there, and it's not terrible. I would still give this probably a B or B+. This would not deter me from buying. But you do have to look here because sometimes the gaps are big and you're going to lose a little sustain from that. Again, not the end of the world, but why not get a guitar that doesn't have a gap, right? And that the neck is perfect. It's also a good time to check for cracks. The other place that guitars crack is right here, the thin spot of the neck. Okay? And again, happens in shipping, happens when people put them in stands carelessly and they fall out. That's the weak spot. This guitar plays really nice, and I definitely think is a good craftsmanship example. The couple flaws are minor, and again, I would still probably give this guitar a B on a B or B plus on a scale, of A to F. All right, so those are things to look for that you may not have realized and are very easy to overlook when you're in the store and you're excited about a purchase, or you're buying something on Craigslist or whatever, because they can't be fixed, right? A broken switch, even a pickup that's messed up, or something up here with a tuning peg, that can be fixed and replaced. But stuff like body cracks, neck joints, the way that the strings go over the pickups, none of that can be fixed if there's a problem, so you're better off vetting it out right from the get-go, so you get yourself a really nice, perfect instrument. Alright guys, so that's it. So I hope these tips help. So what 7 strings do you have, and have you had any quality issues or things that you noticed, when you bought your guitar, or maybe after you got your guitar, things that stood out and kind of bothered you? If so, post in comments, and anything else about these 7 strings or these Ibanez, and I look forward to hearing from you. Alright, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks guys.
Hi, it's Kat with Eterna Shine. Today we're going to check out some great products for keeping your guitars looking their best. Whether it's a routine polishing or a complete finish restore, Eterna Shine products are the only polish you'll need.